Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome National Governors Association Chairman, Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York, and the President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden.
Thank you. On behalf of all the governors, it's my pleasure to welcome our new president and a dear friend to the National Governors Association 2021 winter meeting. Traditionally, the president has been invited to address the governors at their winter meeting, and the president would often be kind enough to invite us to join him at the White House. Of course, that was in the pre-COVID world. However, we do miss our White House visit, Mr. President, and we look forward to a possible invitation next year, fingers crossed, and maybe even an extra special meal to make up for the absence. Of course, I would recommend Italian food, but the way the NGA operates, I'd have to put that up for a vote. Let us begin by thanking you, Mr. President, for your true spirit of partnership. Governors have been on the front lines of COVID for the past year. Many of us have felt that we did not always get the federal support we needed. You reached out to us right after your election for our first meeting. We then had a second meeting just as you were taking office. Your promise of an ongoing functional partnership has already come to fruition. Our weekly calls with Jeff Zients and his COVID team are truly extraordinary. They are genuine discussions and they are problem-solving sessions, and they've made real progress. Mr. President, we thank you not just for your effort, but even more for the results you have achieved. We understand the difficult situation you inherited upon taking office. You had a country anxious for vaccinations, and that when you went to the cupboard, it was all but bare. You have made amazing progress in securing enough vaccines so Americans now know that July is a workable timetable. Certainty quells anxiety. In the meantime, you have secured enough vaccines to increase our state allocations by 70% just since you were elected. You successfully provided the states with 100% FEMA reimbursement through your executive action, which makes an enormous difference on the ground. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, after years of lobbying by the NGA, you proposed $350 billion in direct, unrestricted aid for states and localities. We sincerely thank you. We stand ready to help you pass the American Rescue Plan. And please just tell us how we can help. And we also stand ready to help you pass a national infrastructure bill. Real federal infrastructure investment has been promised many times before. Indeed, by at least 5 former administrations. Some have said that we have airports that look like they are in a third world country. And they are right, Mr. President. I remember. But we believe that you can get it done, and that now is truly the time to do it because the nation needs it. We stand ready as your partners, shovels poised to hit the ground. So, governors, let's give a warm welcome to the 46th President of the United States, President Joseph Biden.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it a lot. Appreciate your friendship. Let me start by saying, guaranteed, if we're able to, we'll not only have you next year at this time for the Governor's Conference, but we'll have whatever food you want. We can go around each one of you. We just order individually. But all kidding aside, I'm anxious to see you. I wish you could all be here because it's much better. We all do better when we're able to look each other in the eye and know what we're talking about. But thank you. Some of you have been here in the meantime, but I hope to have the Governor's Conference here next year, God willing. You know, I've been talking to several of you quite a bit lately. And as you know, we've approved disaster declarations in Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. In Texas, FEMA was already on the ground providing support for COVID-19 vaccination efforts. So they were able to move quickly to supply generators, food, blankets, and most importantly, water. And Governor Abbott, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to coming down tomorrow to Houston to be with you. And I want you and the residents to know that we're here to provide the federal assistance you need to support your state, your local and tribal response efforts. And it's clear that even when the immediate crisis passes, there's going to be more work to be done to help constituents recover. And my administration will be there every step of the way with you, because when people in this country need help, they're not Democrats or Republicans, they're all Americans. And people who need work, they're the people getting sick from COVID and people facing eviction, people going hungry, people struggling with opioid crisis, and people need broadband. They're not Democrats or Republicans, they're our fellow Americans. And I think the whole spirit of this governor's conference and our administration is changing the attitude a little bit about how we deal with one another. At least I hope so. As governors, you know this. You know that you have one job, and that's to deliver. You're in the front lines. I overuse that phrase, but it's hard to overuse it. And as the saying goes, you're the laboratories of democracy. Your challenges can prove to be lessons for everybody. Your successes can prove to be a model for everybody. The storms that hit the South were a painful reminder that so many of our challenges don't stop at our border of our states. They don't make distinctions based on how the state's made up. Today, I want to focus on two of those challenges that cross borders, COVID and the economy. You know better than I do. As you know, the ability to deal with one will determine our ability to address the other. On Monday, our nation passed a grim, grim milestone. COVID-19 has now taken over 500,000 of our fellow Americans. That's more than died in World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War combined. And most governors, that's more than the population of your largest cities in your state or your territories. Gone, gone. And as a country, we have to remember those we lost, but particularly those who were left behind. But as we remember, we also have to act to end the politics of misinformation that has divided families, communities, and the country, and that has cost too many lives already. We have to fight this together as one, to state the obvious. I know you all know this. As a friend of mine, you say you not only understand me, you overstand me. We're the United States of America, and this cruel winter's not over. If we come together, we can usher a more hopeful spring. We can usher it in, and that's what we're working to do together. As you know, I came in office, I set a goal, which was mocked for by some, none of you, but by some. I set a goal of saying we're going to do 100 million shots, get 100 million shots in people's arms in my first 100 days as president. I directed Jeff Science, my COVID response coordinator, to lead my administration and work with vaccine manufacturers to buy more vaccines and speed up delivery. We used, as some of you have suggested, the Defense Production Act to speed up supply chains for key equipment like fill pumps and filters, which have helped increase vaccine production. We've increased vaccine allocations, as Andrew said, the governor said, to your states by almost 70% since coming into office, whatever number of days ago spent, 37 or something like that. We secured enough vaccine to supply 300 million Americans, 300 million, to take care of all their needs in terms of vaccination by the end of July. And we've all seen in the news that Johnson & Johnson vaccine if the FDA approves the use of this new vaccine, we have a plan to roll it out as quickly as Johnson & Johnson can make the vaccine. Of course, it's not just getting the vaccines, it's getting the vaccines into arms. And this is another place where your work and our partnership is making a big difference. I've signed an order to allow retired doctors and nurses to give shots. We deployed, as you referenced indirectly at least, Andrew, we've deployed over 1,500 federal personnel as vaccinators, and we're funding 1,200 of your guardsmen and women to serve as vaccinators as well. And we're paying for your guard for that purpose. We're working with you to create more places where Americans can get vaccinated, supporting communities and high-volume vaccine centers across your states. The result is that we have doubled the daily vaccination rate from where it was when we took office. And we've completed 50 million shots in 37 days. And we've now given more shots than any nation in the entire world. Nearly 60% of people over the age of 75 have now received at least one shot. It was 14% 6 weeks ago. Close to 50% because of your help of the people over 65 have received one shot. It was 8% 6 weeks ago. This is so important because people over 65, as you know better than anyone, account for 80% of all the COVID deaths. Additionally, about 75% of the people who live in long-term care facilities have gotten their first dose, and those cases are at their lowest level since reporting began in May. At the same time, we're also delivering more than 25 million masks. Ordered this last week, 25 million masks to over 60,000 food pantries, soup kitchens, community health centers all across America, helping protect some of our nation's most vulnerable people. These are all necessary steps to helping the economy rebuild. Necessary steps, not only steps. It's enough to build back to where we were before. We need to build back better. And I think all of us know how to do that. We remember what happened in the States back in 2008. Hundreds of thousands of jobs disappeared every month in that Great Recession. And we passed the Recovery Act. We provided state and local fiscal aid. We sent funding to your school districts to help save over 300,000 education jobs. We provided middle-class tax relief. We invested in the future, rebuilding roads and bridges, making the biggest clean energy investment in history and the single biggest investment in infrastructure since Eisenhower's interstate highway program. And we created in the process, you all created in the process, over thousands, hundreds of thousands of good-paying jobs. Now, economists tell us it saved us from a depression. Well, that's the approach I think we need to take today. But there's one big difference. We need to be more ambitious right now. The greatest risk from all the major economists, from Wall Street to overseas to the major think tanks, is that we don't do enough of what is needed. It's where we do too little. You know, in every one of your states and territories, red and blue, millions of Americans are hurting badly. We see it in ways that we've never expected in America. 400,000 small businesses gone in an instant, gone. People who thought they had secure jobs out of work due to no fault of their own. The difference here is people are hurting through no fault of their own. Lines miles long in your states. People who never, ever thought they'd ever have to worry about going hungry, waiting for someone to put a box of groceries in their trunk. Women's participation in the workforce, you all know this, is driven to its lowest level in more than 3 decades. So many women are facing the devastating choice between a paycheck and care and education of their child. Our cities and towns have shed 1.3 million jobs since just last March. Educators, nurses, cops, firefighters, other essential workers. The economic toll of this pandemic continues to tear through our country as brutally as the virus itself. And so we need to comfort the economic, we just have to step up. The economic toll we have to address with the same aggressiveness and seriousness of purpose as we do the virus. And that's what the American Rescue Plan does. Instead of chasing COVID-19, it allows us to get ahead of it with more testing, supplies, vaccinations. It gets our kids back to school safely. Many of you are already doing that, so students can catch up in learning they've lost, and parents can finally catch a break. The American Rescue Plan finishes the job of getting a total of $20,000 in direct payments to people. Getting direct relief to people is a lifeline for them and bumps our economy in a higher gear. And there's more to the American Rescue Plan, and much more it will do. Provide flexible aid to your cities and states to help essential workers stay in the job and essential services keep going. It provides rent relief, food and nutrition, assistance to millions of children and families facing hunger. And the American Rescue Plan also expands access to affordable child care that's going to enable parents, particularly mothers, to get back to work. It provides assistance to mom and pop small businesses that are the engines of our economic growth and the glue of our communities. And it covers the cost of paid leave for businesses whose workers are sickened by COVID-19, and it fills an important gap in our nation's safety net that helps reduce the spread of the virus. I could go on. I'm probably already going on too long, but you know a lot of it already, because the plan was created to include many of the things you have individually and collectively asked me for in recent conversations. The bottom line is the American Rescue Plan meets the moment. An analysis by Moody's estimates that it will help the economy create 7 million more jobs this year alone. And it would be on the way to another 18 million jobs, Moody's estimates, would be created over the next 4 years with our Build Back Better recovery plan. Look, what we do now will determine whether we build from a position of strength, whether we lose years of sluggish and unequal recovery. And the only way to contain this pandemic and help the American people as quickly as possible is passing the plan as quickly as possible. The vast majority of the American people from both parties support it according to the data. I'm grateful that many of you, Democrats and Republicans, have expressed support as well. We are not the type of nation that can or will stand by and watch our people suffer needlessly through no fault of their own. It goes against our conscience. It goes against sound economics. It's not who we are. We're people who know that there's nothing we've ever failed to do when we've set our mind to doing it. So let's get this done. I've gotten over 400 mayors contacting me to get this plan passed. A lot of you have moved to do that. Send millions of Americans, wherever they live, whoever they voted for, a strong message that help and hope are on the way. We can do this. And I hope that Jill and I, as I said, can welcome you all to the White House for next year's meeting. And may God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. We got a lot to do, guys, but we can do it.